Perform the operations by hand, then use a calculator to check your work. So we can see we have a number of different operations going on here, so I'm going to go ahead and jot down a little reminder for my order of operations. So do inside parentheses or other grouping mechanisms, and then we're going to do exponents, then we'll multiply or divide working from left to right, then we'll add or subtract working from left to right. So in this problem we're going to start by working inside the parentheses, and notice we have two sets of parentheses. We've got a set of parentheses here and a set of parentheses here. But in the second set of parentheses there's nothing to do inside the parentheses. When we see this P, it always means do what's inside those parentheses. Okay. So we're going to do this 6 minus 8. So when we do 6 minus 8, we certainly come up with negative 2. And I'm bringing down everything else in the problem. Don't leave anything behind. Every step of the way, bring down everything in the problem. Okay. So we've done what was inside parentheses as much as I can. We don't have any exponents, so we can check that out. Now we're going to go ahead and do our multiplying step. So when we do the multiplication, we've got two multiplications to do. So 2 times negative 2 is going to give me negative 4. Okay. And we're going to talk about two different ways to deal with this second part here. The first way is to go ahead, bring down that subtraction sign, and then to multiply 7 times negative 2. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. And I'm going to put the parentheses there because I already have this subtraction sign, and I don't want to have two of these symbols next to each other without the parenthesis to kind of separate them out. Now we can see that we are subtracting a negative. So negative 4, subtracting negative is the same thing as adding 14, right? Subtracting a negative, those two symbols are going to come together to give me the single plus. And negative 4 plus 14 equals 10. So that's our final answer. But let me show another way to do this step here. I'm going to recopy this 2 times negative 2 minus 7 times negative 2. We're going to think about this slightly differently this time. We're still going to do the 2 times negative 2 just like we did. Okay, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. But now this time I'm going to be thinking about this negative sign as holding on to that 7. So when I do the multiplication, I come up with negative 7 times negative 2. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm going to put that positive right there. And 7 times 2 is 14. So what I'm doing here in this step is I'm basically combining these two steps that I did over here. Remember here we did this just the 7 times the negative 2, and then we had to deal with the doubled up negative signs. Here what I'm doing is I'm taking care of the signs. Negative times a negative is a positive, at the same time that I'm taking care of the 7, the 2 to give me the 14. Both of these methods give me the same step, right? But this one just saves me a step along the way. And this idea of thinking of the negative sign holding on to the digit that follows it is going to be really helpful for us in the future. So you want to start playing around with that idea. Now negative 4 plus 14, as we saw before, is 10. So let's go ahead and check our answer on the calculator. So we want to be sure we're using parentheses on our calculator. So 2, and that's going to be multiplied 2, so I want to use my multiplication sign. Calculators don't always like juxtaposition, so we're going to put in the multiplication sign, parentheses, 6 minus 8, and then close the parentheses. Notice I'm just putting in the whole problem here. And then we have minus 7, and then times, in parentheses, the negative 2. So we're just writing down the original problem as we saw it. The one exception is that we're putting in these multiplication signs where we're doing multiplication. Just we don't want to always count on juxtaposition on a calculator. Sometimes calculators get confused by that. And if we go ahead and press enter, we can see there's the answer 10, exactly as we were expecting.